Story 1. Looking at old photos from the 1990s, I realized how much more genuine social interactions seemed back then. No one was trying to get the perfect shot for a social media platform or worrying about going viral. We were just living. Story 2. Ethnic cleansing is occurring globally, and it is being recorded on video while people are intentionally ignoring it. Story 3. Life is short, and I feel as though I'm getting older, with everything passing by so quickly. The 1980s were 50 years ago. Why can't we live in this moment forever, all of us? Story 4. There is a significant shortage of physicians, and much work is needed in medical research. I want to contribute my knowledge and talents to address these challenges, but I feel hindered. Whether it's my GPA being slightly below the cutoff for medical school or the lack of willingness from research employers to consider a master's graduate full of potential, I face barriers. Story 5. Bad people get away with their actions. People are easily manipulated and believe every lie told to them without a second thought. Story 6. Waking up and knowing I can't buy decent food, do anything extra, or move from this house is frustrating. Even as a full-time worker, my income is so low that I can only pay for the essential bills to survive. Any additional income one wants to generate is likely illegal or heavily taxed. This situation feels hopeless. Story 7. How are we still overproducing wasteful plastics and continuing to consume them when we clearly know they are harming our planet and wildlife? This issue ultimately returns to us in the form of microplastics inside our bodies. We need to do better and prevent companies from producing single-use plastics. I am just one person, but I avoid using them as much as I can. However, whenever I go to the store, I see many people buying large packs of bottled water, juice, or soda, which triggers my anxiety. Story 8. You are asking the wrong question. Sadness has become the default in this day and age. The relevant question is what causes those rare moments of happiness. Story 9. We are moving backward. We are becoming more selfish, more greedy, and less interested in things that benefit everyone. Story 10. Children and innocent people in the midst of a war zone experience poverty and a lack of care from those in power. This affects the economy and the future, leading to feelings of loneliness. Perhaps I am just a sad person. Story 11. Well, having not touched a woman in 14 years certainly hasn't helped. The only way I will survive is by sticking to the plan, and that plan means no women until I find stable housing. Story 12. I read a lot of thrift books, and it always makes me sad to see ones that are signed from a relative with messages like, "I love this and thought of you. I hope you like it, Mom." It makes me wonder why they got rid of it and if they ever read it. Story 13. The intentional cruelty of the current administration in the United States is alarming. The Republican Party seems to want people to suffer. Story 14. Produce prices are significantly higher every day, and the quality is noticeably worse. I mention this to my wife every time we go grocery shopping. Story 15. We convinced transgender individuals and others that it was okay to be themselves, and now we have taken that support away from them. Democrats essentially attribute the loss to Trump to their support for transgender people. It is disappointing. Story 16. Children no longer experience true childhoods. They are often glued to devices and media that convey messages they should not be exposed to. Little girls are told they need skincare, makeup, and to dress provocatively to gain attention, while little boys are taught to objectify girls and treat them as less than human. There is a societal push that reinforces harmful gender roles, suggesting that if a boy likes baking or the color pink, he must be a girl, or if a girl prefers dirt bikes and blue, she must be a boy, which can lead to damaging hormone replacement therapy. Public education seems designed to prepare children for rigid factory schedules, promoting industrialism over creativity. Additionally, children are politicized rather than allowed to enjoy a time in their lives free from such burdens. They bear heavy emotional weights as their parents engage in unstable relationships, bringing strangers in and out of their lives who may be abusive, intoxicated, or too self-absorbed to provide attention. It is alarming how often adults negatively impact children's lives without any regard. Story 17. Current affairs are concerning. I worry about the kind of world my 11-month-old baby will grow up in. I have been working full-time since I was 17, but due to my location, I still don't have enough for a mortgage deposit that would make my monthly repayments manageable, because the cost of living is extremely high. At 36, I am stuck in a one-bedroom flat with my baby and my partner, and I simply can't afford to move. I want my son to have a garden to play in, and I want him to have his own room. It's heartbreaking, and it makes me feel like a failure as a parent. Story 18. All of a sudden, a divorce after 20 years together. She stabbed me in the heart and back out of the blue. Story 19. I grew up and realized that many of my family members are not good people, not just my parents. Story 20. Women's unrealistic standards for being a food delivery service and nothing more. The debt I will never escape because everyone said college was the path to a better life. Story 21. I have some older women in my life, and I have become close with them at work. They have become like family to me. They are stuck in marriages with difficult husbands but can't leave because they cannot afford to live on their own. There are so many complications preventing them. It truly breaks my heart, and it highlights the fact that it is nearly impossible to survive without a support system or a job that pays over $30 an hour. Story 22. I had to look at a puppy photo today, seeing it stare up at me with so much love in its eyes, only to find out that she lived for just 11 weeks. Story 23. I spent time volunteering in areas impacted by Hurricane Helene, which affected multiple states in late September 2024. The mudslides and flooding claimed hundreds of lives. Some days, I can't shake the stories from my mind, and most will never be shared with the public. I lack the words to describe the horror. Story 24. My pledge brother passed away at 32 years ago. He was my soulmate and best friend. He took the color from the world, and since then, I see everything in a painful light. I can't cope with world politics and the evil that exists in this world. My brother's departure highlighted all of this for me. It has been so dark since, and it seems to get darker each day. Story 25. Americans turning into Nazis. People are more concerned about men becoming women than about Americans becoming Nazis. Story 26. The realization that America is and has never been the pinnacle of democracy, freedom, and prosperity. Story 27. Watching everyone else buy houses and cars and go on vacation while I will probably always rent, only be able to get an old, inexpensive car and never be able to explore. Story 28. This generation is not experiencing the world without expectations because of the internet. It diminishes the excitement of life. Story 29. The wars. My teacher had a speech the other day in which she explained that she feels sorry for us. We asked why, because we think we are very privileged due to living in a wealthy, developed, and stable country. She said that when she was young, she didn't have to worry about wars, like the one in Ukraine. Never had she been told to pack an emergency case in order to survive for 3 days in case war broke out. It made me realize that the world we live in today is not normal. This constant fighting, political instability, and uncertainty about the future are not normal. And she is right. I am scared. What will I do if a leader decides to bomb my country? I have nothing to defend myself with. I will lose my family, my house, my pets. This makes me sad. I know that others have it worse and that I am incredibly lucky to not currently live in a war zone, but I am still scared. Story 30. War is happening around the world in places like Palestine, Ukraine, and Sudan. People are being forced into labor and underpaid. Discrimination, inequality, and hate crimes persist. Story 31. I don't think my wife and I will ever be able to afford a home big enough to support our whole family. We have 4 boys collectively. She has 2 and I have 2. Even a small 3-bedroom home in our area costs $250,000 or more. I net about $60,000 a year, and she makes somewhere around $15,000 to $20,000 since she is mostly at home with the kids. There's just no way we could manage a $1,500 to $2,000 mortgage before homeowners insurance or even save up enough for a down payment right now. We live in a 2-bedroom mobile home with her boys because the lot rent is $700 a month and it's all we can afford. This is absolutely crazy to me. I paid cash for the place and we have no debt. But between food, appliances breaking, car repairs, other living costs, and home improvements, I just don't think it will happen until the kids are grown. This is frustrating because our youngest three are all close in age and they love spending time together. When I have my boys on the weekends, I stay at my grandfather's house so there is enough space for the three of us. He appreciates seeing his great-grandkids, and I like being there in case he needs something once in a while. I never thought I would see the day when a household collectively making $80,000 a year would struggle to save any sort of money. When I was a kid, making $40,000 was doing pretty decent. I'm always looking for extra ways to make money, but nothing seems to pan out. I barely have the time with my job, and I get burned out easily. I know there are people who have it much worse off than we do, and that makes me sad too. We have two good working vehicles, a roof over our heads, and our bills are paid. I'm grateful overall, but I just don't like leaving my wife on the weekends or the fact that we can't fully merge our families. Story 32. I feel sad for the younger generation. They seem plagued by anxiety and depression during the best years of their lives. As a Generation X individual, I can't tell if they have failed to acquire resiliency due to parenting or if there's another issue exacerbated by the pervasive comparison on social media, but it's disheartening to see so many beautiful, intelligent, funny, yet vulnerable young people who perceive themselves as lacking a future. I believe it may be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I pray for young Americans every day. Story 33. When you say all lives matter and that war is bad, it seems you are viewed as a supporter of right-wing beliefs by some people where I live. Story 34. I am certain I have reached the peak of my mental capacity. After idling there for a while, I have officially tipped and begun my descent. It feels as if I can sense the erosion taking place as I observe those around me slowly changing their behavior and how they communicate with me. On a lighter note, many individuals believe that sharing their opinions in random live videos is making a difference. Story 35. The president is a dishonest individual aiming to harm our country. Our political culture is unhealthy and corrupt. People only care about influence and money, and it feels like no one truly cares. Story 36. The abundance of low-quality music, television, and movies being produced today seems to be aimed at providing entertainment for an increasingly disengaged audience. Story 37. We were all taught that we need to learn about history so we do not make the same mistakes. Yet, here we are repeating those mistakes. Story 38. Many people struggle with ego problems, lacking empathy, compassion, and kindness. Individuals often complain online without taking effective action to inspire change, such as participating in protests. Wealthy individuals are influencing society, and the American public is voting for Trump once again. Story 39. I have been on this blue planet that spins in a vacuum for 58 years, completing 58 revolutions around the sun. Can you believe it? I bet some of you haven't figured out your calling yet. Sometimes our calling is simply to keep quiet and stay out of the way. Invest in yourself and take time to do nothing. Story 40. Women and men often find themselves in bars filled with people yet still feel completely alone. Story 41. The state of the world and the reality that those in power everywhere appear to either worsen conditions or refuse to take action regarding those who are suffering is concerning. Story 42. Being ashamed to be an American. Watching my friends and family continue to be influenced negatively and celebrate atrocities, unable to understand it. Having to distance myself from people I love. Observing the current administration strip this country of its dignity. Witnessing public service employees be diminished, already feeling sad for them, but knowing we haven't yet felt the consequences. Living with the fear that I might watch our national parks be stripped of their resources and beauty, never to be restored in my lifetime if that happens. Living with the fear that my friends with green cards are no longer safe. Living with the fear that we are nearing an environment where we might be prosecuted for dissent. Earning more money than ever after working very hard, yet still living in the same apartment I have occupied for 13 years, barely getting by from paycheck to paycheck. The mountain of student loan debt I have been paying off for 9 years, where the progress is negligible because I can't afford a sufficient monthly payment to make a difference. My car, which has 150,000 miles on it, is in need of replacement that I cannot afford. My aging parents, whom I will never be able to financially assist or house because I lack the resources. My own future retirement savings that will not be sufficient, compounded by the fact that I have no assets. My niece is about to be born into a country that is actively stripping away the rights of women. The fact that I have already maxed out my flexible spending account for the year because my insurance is inadequate, and it's only March. Should I continue? Story 43. The overwhelming amount of responsibility I have been given due to events that began when my father passed away. Story 44. People's addiction to smartphones and social media has isolated them to the point of having no real-life friends, and they struggle to interact socially because they find it intimidating. There is a lack of community. We need each other, we need community. The loneliness epidemic is real. Story 45. How society is so divided and allows politics, religion, and other factors to ruin friendships and families. Whatever happened to agreeing to disagree and searching for common ground with those we disagree with? Story 46. My taxes go towards supporting volunteer firefighters and paramedics in my rural area, where there are no streetlights. I am not sure where the money is being allocated. Story 47. I do not have any help or support. I am surrounded by many people, but it feels like there is nobody at the same time. I am struggling financially, but I am smart and well-educated and still feel stuck. Story 48. I just witnessed men beating up a defenseless person. I was the only one intervening. This isn't even the first time it has happened in my life. Story 49. The fact that there is still hatred towards minorities for being different from others, often not by choice. Story 50. I moved to a new subdivision where only my kids and another couple play outside. Halloween was quiet with empty playgrounds. Kids are staying inside. There is minimalism in areas like fast food play places and a lack of color. The anti-vaccine movement. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.